Welcome back for your episode of TV OGC after a very, very long break. We are now calling this a season break episode and also one of the biggest inflection points we've had in our company journey. Today we have Siddhant, my co-founder, now ex-co-founder at Climbs, and me. And we're going to be spending the next 30 minutes really taking you through our decision-making about how we chose to turn Climbs into two companies, Climbs and Equilibrium. So welcome, Sid. Back to TDOGC.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, Ani. I think last time we were together, we did the year-end reflection last year, and it's good to be back on the TDOGC.
Absolutely. So why don't you take give an attempt at describing what is this big inflection point that we've been working toward for the last 4-5 months, and where are we at with that journey?
No, absolutely. So when we started Climbs 3 years ago, I think the vision was to definitely move capital from different sources, whether it's consumers, brands, enterprises, financial institutions, your pension funds, impact funds, etc., to carbon avoidance or removal projects in the country. Right, that was the thesis with which we started out. Climbs carbon was the anchoring point when we started out, which is why if you look at our journey, we've got ahead and funded mostly in the first 2 years of our journey, mostly carbon removal assets, and mostly focused on nature assets. Right. If I look at our journey, we've sort of done that multiple different times in the last 3 years, right? On the enterprise, on the demand side, I know we as a company have worked with close to 80 plus enterprises. As consumers, we've worked with about 200,000 plus consumers. I think you'd be the right person to give the absolute number of clients. But broadly, we've moved a lot of capital to carbon removal assets in the country, right? And I think somewhere down the line, in 2022, we realized that to actually finance some of these assets, there needs to be one more level of hand-holding that needs to be done with project originators in the country, right? And, since 2022, we've been actively wanting to work with some of the partners on the ground to get them finance ready. And what we realized was it's not as any financial services marketplace, just because the asset class is so new and has so many variables, right? Nature as an asset comes with first and foremost natural risks. Second is obviously it's long gestation, so it's not like an EV vehicle where one can model out the asset right away. Three is it has a lot of operational risks that one needs to underwrite, which then means that there needs to be a specific focus that one needed to build to underwrite an asset like this, right? So broadly, on the supply side, we started working on the nature projects, and we realized that it requires, serious expertise to underwrite an asset like this, which we've been developing in-house at Climbs for the last sort of 18 to 24 months. But I think part of the conversation that we're going to have today is some of the realizations that we've had through Q3, Q4 last year, and that sort of materialized more in Q1 of this year, where, certain customers who really liked our product offering sort of felt that we needed to have more focus and rigor in terms of wanting to park their money with us in terms of underwriting natural assets. And that there were not one or two conversations. I think there were multiple different conversations that we had with different customers, both in India and outside India, that told us that, the team, the capabilities and the focus requires much more maturity, much more, I think I'll get scandalized for saying this, but more of a gray hair approach towards underwriting this assets. And yeah, we've reached the point today where we've realized that we need to carve out the project finance and project development vertical of Climbs, right? Formerly called Climbs Projects. And going forward, we will run it as an independent brand, as an independent entity, under Equilibrium, right? It's been a hard decision, but I think it's the right decision. We've debated this for over 2 quarters now on what's the best way we do this in terms of shareholders, in terms of employees, in terms of customers, all of these important stakeholders, right? Keeping their short-term and long-term interests in mind. And I'm glad we've arrived at this fork at the road. Would love to hear your thoughts on how it evolved. I think I sort of went with the flow.
Oh, that was really well described. I think we both agree that building a company is really, really hard. It takes everything from you to build. And I think spending a lot of time on the problem is really, really important as well. And for us, it's been 3 years. And I think we both acknowledge, us and the rest of the teams acknowledge that it's going to take a lot longer. Like climate is a very, very big problem to solve. And honestly, we've just about scratched the surface. It's taken us 3 years to figure out what we wanted to build and how we want to build it. And now we've taken the corrective measures to ensure that, yeah, there are 2 different problems. One is a climate finance problem. One is an actual project development problem. And both need far leaner, more leaner, meaner teams, more focused on messaging, more focused on skill sets to go and actually have a shot at succeeding in achieving that, right? On the climate finance piece and the project development piece. So I think we started our journey with really like the notion that the world has a lot of capital, but it's not incentivized to flow into climate solutions as quickly as is needed, and in the quantum of the volume that's needed as well. That's what we started by solving, with our climate fintech product approach, the APIs, Climbs Lite, Climbs Events. And in building that, we definitely realized that there's a shortage of very high quality projects in the country. That has been a severe bottleneck. No one has yet figured out how to build really high quality projects. There's been a lot of growth and improvement over the last 2 years. There's been a lot of media attention as well, calling out bad project developers. I personally think that's actually a very good thing. It's when that touchlight is shown on the bad, on the sketchy, on the shady, that the overall system improves, right? Overall, there's so much more transparency, traceability, definition of what it takes to build a good project, that the overall carbon markets and the overall ecosystem has gotten far healthier. It always happens only when there's a lot of criticism and calling out the bad actors. So while people have been scared of the carbon markets in the last 12 months, overall, the entire system has gotten far healthier. And that has allowed us as a team to become far more mature in knowing what it takes to build a high-quality carbon project and what it takes to actually finance a really high-quality carbon project as well, right? So I think the last 2-3 years, we were lucky to have arrived at 2 different problem statements. We are extremely lucky to have got fantastic people on the team, combined Climbs team to solve this problem with. But I think building a company, it's just the nature of like an organism that once it grows too big, it becomes a little bit confused also in terms of like having just one messaging. And that's what happened with us as well. Earlier this year, I think March was the time when we really took that call to say, hey, we've arrived at like 2 significant problem statements to like work on. But now that is going to take to really like succeed and not just keep trying, right? Like to actually succeed in building phenomenal outsized outcomes on the climate finance piece and the project development piece. And I think March, we had to have those hard conversations. Company building comes with hard conversations. We sat down and I really loved the fact that like everyone around the table was super, super just mature to table every, fact and come up with a decision that we did arrive at, which was this is best served with 2 different initiatives under 2 different brands with far smaller, leaner teams. And of course, for the last 5 months, we've been executing on that plan. And we are almost at the finish line with having, created 2 companies out of 1. It is truly a one-of-a-kind outcome.
No, absolutely. I think one more thing that I want to add was one of the reasons why we went ahead and did this is, I think the way financing needs to be done for both of these entities are fundamentally different, right? One requires a mix of equity and debt in the form of project finance, and the other requires equity in terms of just funding upfront software costs, right? And one of the things that we found was it's better to equip both of these businesses with different types of capital allocators who kind of understand these asset classes, right? And can potentially also want to underwrite specifically into one category of the business model. So in that sense, it puts us in good shape to continue to have these journeys independently and bring on the right set of capital allocators into these independent businesses. That's an important factor that we put into our decision around how we go about carving out Equilibrium from Climbz and building that out as a separate project, financing and development institution.
Absolutely. One other thing I would call out is, it took us 3 years. We built as frugally as we could. I think we've been incredibly capital efficient as a business. But yeah, we did end up picking up some fluff along the years. And now this exercise has also been extremely important for us to cut down expenses wherever we can and really focus on becoming a revenue operation as well. On Climbz and in the Equilibrium side, we have revenue levers and we really trim down the costs as much as possible. And I think that just shows we are trying to build a serious, meaningful business, not just a climate business, but a revenue business that happens to have climate impact, right? So one of the, I want you to, give us a perspective of each of the stakeholders that was involved in the, the outcomes, the outcome of having two companies come out of one and how they are affected. And because there's so many people associated with the Climbz and now Climbz plus Equilibrium journey. So if you can talk about it from the lens of 1, our existing customers, 2, our investors, our early investors, 3, people on the team, right? Colleagues of ours, Climbz employees, and 4, just the rest of the ecosystem, right? These various stakeholders and how they will be affected as a result of the decision that we have taken.
Honest answer in one line is none of them would be affected because we've made sure that we've kept everyone's interests intact, right? With that take side, given you asked me around the 4 stakeholders, I'll start with customers. I think in terms of existing customers, all of them will continue to be served. Those who had requirements around financing future assets will be moved into the Equilibrium brand. Let's say, for example, on the supply side, a lot of the partners that we've worked with will continue to integrate and scale with us to the Equilibrium brand name. In Climbz, each of the existing customers across API, Light, Carbon Condor will continue to be serviced as per users, right? So, in that sense, existing customers will continue to have pretty much similar POCs on each of the engagements that we've been a part of. The second is the investors, right? In terms of the investors, all of the investors will get a 1:1 share in both businesses, given that, Equilibrium is a carve-out. I think credit where it's due. Every investor we went to was very supportive of what we were trying to do. I think they acknowledge the fact that we've been frugal. We've been trying to actually build a profitable business model in a space as hard and nascent as carbon finance for nature. And yeah, I mean, broadly, I think most of them will continue to have shares in both entities. So in that sense, they benefit. The third, employees. I think this is something that both of us take a lot of pride in, that not a single employee we had to let go of through the entire process. We gave them the option to choose where their passions lie, where their career trajectories lie, and each one had the opportunity to self-select into whichever organization we continue. And it did follow the trajectory of those who were interested in the product side, continued be with Climbz, and those who wanted to engage in project development and continue to engaging project business to equilibrium. So I think this for me personally is very fulfilling to this period of 2 quarters that we had the opportunity to make sure that every employee gets the best outcome possible. The last is the community at whole. I feel like both of us do spend time giving back to the community, you through Sus Mafia, you to working with upcoming founders. I think that will continue to remain the same for the both of us. I think we will be more supportive of each other. We both are shareholders in each other's organization.
Yes, very, very important.
I forgot to mention that, but yeah, we both are shareholders in each other's organization, so we continue to open, wish the best for each other as we continue on our journey. I would love for you to answer the same across the board if I missed it.
Yeah, I think like I have spoken with so many of our customers on the climate finance and carbon accounting side, which is the demand side of the business, the client's business, and almost all of them have just been super supportive. And I think the main question that came up is how will this affect us? Like, will it disrupt anything? And by and large, our answer has been not at all, right? Like, because there is no disruption at all. And I am really happy that like we have that level of support where it's just been a little bit of like vendor changing and like some additional paperwork, but that's part of the job. And I think I'm incredibly happy and proud that almost everybody has continuity, even in the customer sense. And in fact, people have been more supportive because it makes our effort far more focused on serving their end goals. Right. So I think we have to be a customer first company, and the fact that we have stickiness with a bunch of our existing enterprise partners just says a lot about what we've been building over the last 3 years. I think on the employee one, you nailed it. Like, we take a lot of pride in building really, really small teams and finding phenomenal operators along the way, and then bringing them onto one of the two journeys, Flying or Equilibrium. And the fact that this was a real crucible test, right? The last 5 months, 6 months were a severe crucible test for not just us, but for everybody on the team. Everybody has gone through their own journey, wondering about like, what do they want to do with their lives, right? What do they want to do professionally? And I think it's these crucible tests that come up once in a while. They can't come up every month, but they should come up every couple of years to really make you think, why are you doing what you're doing? Are you spending your time in the most optimal way possible? Are you proud of the people that you're actually working with, right? Is the mission that you're working toward something that you would regret not doing? And I think these questions have really shaped and molded each of the people who's either exited to go on to graduate school or carrying on in the Clients and Equilibrium journey. And that's made the overall teams extremely, extremely resilient. Extremely resilient. And I think this is truly what it takes. Like, I don't know a single company that's just had it easy. Every company has gone through its journey of, building 3 steps forward, 1 step back, sometimes even 2 steps back, sometimes even 3 steps back, and then like moving forward, right? This is what it takes. And I think longevity is absolutely key. That is part of our job. But I'm just really proud of the fact that like on either side, on the teams, people have become so much more resilient and like mature as a result. And that actually sets both Clients and Equilibrium up to be the teams independently to solve the project development problem or the climate finance problem, right? And I think that is something we should wear with pride, because it's going through crucible tests like this that have like shaped us into what it's going to take to win, right? Then I think on the ecosystem front, there's been a lot of support. Obviously, lots and lots of questions because it's quite unusual. What I keep hearing from people is like, this is not normal to do, to decide to turn one company into two. And I've heard that from a lot of people, but I know when we took that call, we looked around far and wide for inspiration. We needed like some sort of examples to look at, to emulate, right? Because we grow by standing on the shoulders of giants before us. We don't, honestly, like 99% of the times, you and I don't have the answer. We don't know how to do it, but we do seek the right answers, right? We ask the right questions, the hard questions that came up from our investors, from just even well-wishers of clients in this journey. Because I know we had a lot of hard questions that came up, and it really forced us to think through everything that we normally had not. Right? But what are some of the hard questions that came up to you?
I think the hardest question was from truly well wishers is like, are you sure about this, right? Because you've been on this journey for 3 years. I think some of them said, the silver lining is the fact that you guys are motivated and do believe in the opportunity and want to give a shot at it for the next decade, right? For however long you want to make this work. So I think that was the hardest personal question, right? From a company perspective, I think around the market opportunity itself is the time here and now, because you've given it 3 years and clearly the nonlinear inflection point is not here right away. So is it going to come in the next 12 months, 24 months, or it could possibly be 60 months or 72 months, right? Like, is that something that you folks are okay with? And I think those were answers that possibly were more required some more depth and soul searching. And I guess both of us have come out on the side of wanting to continue and give this the best shot that we can with two new entities.
Yeah, and some of the hard questions that came my way were like, is it possible to do it in time? Because these things are very complex. Like when you're doing reorganizations and all, there's so many legal processes involved. I think that was a big question, which is, will it be done in time? And will you guys have enough cash left in the bank on both sides to be able to actually go and have and do a second innings, right? But I'm very proud of the fact that we brought it to this point. It took a little bit longer than we expected, but we were so committed to powering through and really coming to this end zone of having two independent companies that are capitalized, that have the right teams in place, and then had a really good shot at achieving our vision. So that was definitely a question: will it be done in time? And I think just because we committed to the fact that there is no other option, we have to do it in time, we powered through it through a very difficult 4 or 5 months. No, absolutely. Yeah. So now that we have reached this point, right, and we have clients and Equilibrium, let's talk about how the individual goals of both companies and how we are so much better set up to succeed now. Maybe we'll start with Equilibrium first, and then we can talk about Tribes. Post the entire reorganization, where's Equilibrium at?
Yeah, I think in terms of the organization, Equilibrium, we're continuing to hire across science, finance, and technology roles, just because we are building tech-enabled, nature-based projects, right? So while we have a core team of about 14 people, we definitely plan to hire more folks across the board, right? That's on the people aspect. On the vision and the milestone aspect, we definitely want to bring in project financiers from the global north. We are spending time on it. We're working with impact institutions to blend impact finance into some of the projects that we are working on. So I think the main two goals are going to be continuing to attract capital from investors looking to neutralize their emissions, and can also pre-finance and project finance some of these projects that we are building in India. The second core focus is to continue to build our science and technology capabilities to make sure that the assets that we are working on are of the highest integrity, highest quality, and most importantly, are removing carbon at the rate at which we have modeled out, right? So those will be the two big focus areas. I think it's just going to be a lot of integration between effective ways of deploying finance to effective nature-based projects that we're working in across 5 states in the country. Just from a numbers perspective, for the next season alone, we intend to work with over 5,000 plus farmers in agroforestry, around 40,000 plus farmers in regenerative agriculture. We are exploring newer categories of layering solutions that can remove soil or rather add soil or organic carbon into soils, right? So we're spending time on biochar as well. So that's something that you'll hear from us in the next couple of months. Also, so the focus is very clear between our finance goals and our science goals, and building an institution at the intersection of both of these.
And what is the business model you're following? Because now it's become dual fold, right? There's a digital service aspect, and then there's the credit generation aspect. Maybe throw some light in both.
Yeah, the business model is pretty clear, I think. On the financing aspects, we do take a certain percentage fee for deploying the capital, and for the asset enhancement, asset management, asset operation side of things. And obviously, we also will take a percentage of the credits, which is the variable payout that we have. So that's on the project finance side. We also do have our own technology MRE platform that we work with select few developers and originators, where we help them monitor, report, and verify their projects through our technology platform. And over there, it is sort of an enterprise SaaS fee that we have. And the good thing about these contracts is it's longer tenure. Because once a originator works with us, if we end up sort of working with them through periods of 5, 7, 10 years.
Nice. And it's got a pretty cool name as well. That DMRV tool, Free Metrics. Everyone should go check it out on equilibriumearth.com. It's live for anyone, can go and do a test on it as well, right? I think you got a demo.
Yes, that's the do-it-yourself product that we have for anyone who's interested in assessing the eligibility of whether they can generate carbon credits or no. You can check that out on Free Metrics, and that's just the start to the entire stack of the DMRB solution that we have.
Yeah, great. And on the client's front, I think our vision stays the same as it was 3 years ago, which is the world has a lot of money. We have a giant global GDP, $110 trillion, but hardly any of it is incentivized to go into climate solutions. And that's really like what we're trying to solve. So we want to bridge our planet's climate finance gap by building product that can integrate with different stakeholders in society, consumer brands, enterprises, financial institutions, and unlock more and more money. So the North Star metric for clients really is, on a per day basis, how much climate GDP have we increased? How much new money have we brought into the climate fight, right? That can then be deployed to a growing basket of climate projects globally. So the amount of money increased is what we are solving for. And we started by doing that obviously with the API light events, and couple more products yet to be built. But there's a lot more in the pipeline. Like if we break down the money stack that we have as a society, we spend money, we lend money, we donate money, we invest money. As clients, we really want to tap into each of those actions around money, so that you have a vested interest in actually spending or donating into or lending into climate. So as a fintech company, how do we create the right incentives to bring in more and more capital on a daily basis? And I think that there's no dearth of ideas that we have. Of course, each of the products we build will be built with customers in mind. Consumer brands and enterprises tend to be our focus right now, but over time, we will expand into the financial institution and even government set. But hold us accountable to that. That's our North Star metric. How much climate GDP have we increased on a per day basis? And our goal, very, very ambitious, is we want to unlock a percentage of global GDP. So $1 trillion a year is how much we want to move into climate solutions. So the anxiety for a project developer should just go away. Any zip code in the world should be able to have a climate project developed, because two people can get up and say, the capital is available, I have the playbooks, all I need to do is just build. Right? So the way it has been a real estate boom every year in the world, we want to do a climate project boom by making money available very, very quickly in like vast quantums. So it's a grand goal. They just scratch the surface. But I think it necessitates that we stay asset-light and we actually build out this really like network effects type model with a marketplace that is agnostic. Right? Any project developer should be able to come and build. And our focus will be on solving distribution. Make climate mainstream and put climate finance into every transaction so that there's more and more money available for climate solutions. So yeah, like I think both of these were housed under the same umbrella, right? Under Climbs for so long. And it took us a long time to realize that actually both have a different timeline, both have a different necessity of capital, different types of teams. And now we have taken that call as of March. I think that was the right time to take this call. Maybe a couple of months delayed would have been too late. But yeah, both Climbs and Equilibrium are now ready for the next phase of our growth. And we can't wait to build and like share more updates.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like I said, it's a fork in the road. And I think it was important to do it at the right time. It was hard at that time, but I think we arrived at a case which puts both these missions in right focus areas that is required to achieve meaningful impact. And yeah, wish us both well, and very excited to see what the next postal journey is for both organizations, and we'll be continuing with sharing each other, and hopefully come back for another episode in a couple of years to check in on the progress that we've made.
Great. This has been a really fun episode to record after a long break. But we're coming back with a season 2. I think this episode is a season break, but very, very soon after this, we will be launching a season 2. Sid, it's been great having you back on the Climbs podcast. It's not the first, it won't be the last, but this is a very clear inflection point, fork in the road for 2 companies to be born, one of a kind outcome. And now it's on us to make sure that both Climbs and Equilibrium do release its seed.
Absolutely. Pleasure on you.
Great. Thank you so much. Ta-da.